Well, sometimes I talk about the late 60s, early 1970s author Carlos Castaneda. Castaneda wrote a series of books about his apprenticeship to a Yaqui shaman in the Sonora Desert. Um, the shaman's name was Don Juan Matus, and these books are full of interesting wisdom. I'm laughing because another author that I read one time, one Dr. Martin Ball, said that Carlos Castaneda was a big fraud. Dr. Ball is all about taking dimethyltryptamine, DMT, and tripping his way into God's graces. Carlos Castaneda did trip too. In the first book, he tripped on peyote cactus, and I think they were also investigating another plant called datura. Can you trip your way? Well, the thing was that Don Juan Matus, it wasn't about becoming God or something like Dr. Martin Ball. Don Juan Matus said, you got to walk a path. And he said, you might as well pick a path that's got heart. That was his lineage. Walk a path with heart. And to have a path with heart, he didn't exactly say this, but I'm going to sort of read between the lines. He says, in order to walk a path of heart, you have to lose your self-importance. And he said that over and over and over again to Carlos Castaneda. Self-importance, self-importance, self-importance. Another thing that he said quite often to Carlos Castaneda was you have to have inner silence. And, well, the lineage of shaman that Don Juan Matus belonged to were incredible sorcerers. One time, Don Juan Matus made Carlos Castaneda's car disappear. They were able to bend the laws of reality. But the self-importance part is it's about letting go. Letting go. Becoming a I guess it's becoming what they called I don't know how to pronounce it in English. It's either nagual or nawal. I think that's a Spanish word, and I very difficult when you read the word to try and figure it out. But Nagual, and that is the person who is the leader of the shaman. And it is also one of the names for spirit. I think it would be like the Great Spirit, maybe, although he didn't use that wording. And some people say they hate to put words in other people's mouths, but I'm going to put those words into Don Juan Matus's mouth because I shouldn't have done that. Because as soon as I said that, my smartphone video camera, kicked out. So maybe Don Juan Matus is listening, and he just showed me that he still has the power to show himself in mysterious ways. So I didn't stop the camera there. The camera stopped right after I said that I was going to put words in the mouth of Don Juan Matus, and the camera died. So, getting back to the lecture, how do you get inner silence, and what's the purpose of inner silence? I think inner silence is letting go of everything you ever learned from Western conditioning, the school system, and your society. Don Juan Matus didn't want his sorcery teachings to be contaminated with, for example, Catholicism. This is something that anthropologists quite often do, is they do syncretism. I'll have to look, hold on. I looked it up. It's syncretism. Syncretism, which is the amalgamation or attempted amalgamation of different religions, cultures, or schools of thought. So, in the past, anthropologists and historians would say that Hermes Trismegistus, Hermes, I'm just going to say Hermes, and then let's try something or other. Hermes is the same person as that. Hermes was, I think, Egyptian, and he's the same person as Mercury, the messenger of either ancient Greece or ancient Rome. They quite often took the Greek gods and the Roman gods, and they said, well, they have different names, but they're the same one. So that's syncretism, and Don Juan Matus would have none of it for his teachings and in his lineage. He didn't want any contamination. So, let's get back to inner silence. Inner silence is shutting off the internal dialogue, which is pretty much something everyone has. The voice inside your head is the internal dialogue. You have to turn it off. How do you turn it off? I managed to turn mine off, and then I got a bunch of spirit guides that talk an awful lot. So I don't have inner silence except for me. I'm innerly silent, but I hear others talk, the ones that I call my spirit guides. Sometimes my spirit guides drive me insane with their talking. So, if we ever do develop unitary consciousness, that is a group consciousness where we all have continuous telepathy with one another, it might drive us mad because of the internal dialogue of each person, not only your own, but all your neighbors and everyone else on the planet. Madness. It's far too much talking. So you don't want that. You want inner silence. And I don't know if Don Juan Matus talked telepathically. I don't remember him saying so. He had, he didn't call them spirit guides, but he called them allies. And I guess I can't go any further than that, because trying to explain allies, you guess you're going to have to get the Carlos Castaneda books and try them out. So, and as far as self-importance, why do you have to lose self-importance? I think it has to do with you making yourself quiet so that the greater spirit can it's going to express itself anyway. But if you lose your sense that, me personally, I'm an important person in the world, then you let go of having to have an achieving mind. I have to have a plan for my life. I'm going to become a medical doctor or a lawyer or a businessman or a teacher. You're letting go of that. And, I suppose you did, I mean, he did have apprentices, so, you're going to apprentice to be a sorcerer. I guess I'm romantic. Because if you are going to become a sorcerer, um, is it still a goal to be a sorcerer? I think so. I think so. I think it's huge ego. In the end, everything that's going to draw you into a teaching is uh, your achieving mind. I'm going to become Jesus. I'm going to become Buddha. I'm going to become a shaman like Don Juan Matus. That was that one. I'm going to bring heaven to earth. This is my 73 shirt. And as I said in my previous video, 73 is the code that Paul Butler on YouTube says is all about bringing heaven to earth. This shirt, I got it off of Amazon, and it said 73, just like Sheldon on the Big Bang Theory often wears. Strangely, I have another hoodie that I got from Roots stores. I don't know if you have Roots in your country, but Roots is in Canada, and I think it was the first store must have happened in 73, because quite often they use 73 as in 1973. This doesn't mean 1973. When Paul Butler uses it, it means that it is the code for bringing heaven to earth when he talks about it. And as far as what it means to Sheldon on the Big Bang Theory, I have no idea. But I have another hoodie from Roots that I've had for a very long time, and it wasn't until I heard Paul Butler talk about 73 being the code for bringing heaven to earth that I went, isn't that strange? I've had this hoodie for such a long time. It's got a 73 on it. Strange, strange, strange. And when I got this one, 73, I didn't know anything about Paul Butler and it just being a code for bringing heaven to earth. It was, I think Rumpelstiltskin, another one of my spirit guides, wanted it. And he didn't explain why. He just said, buy it. And in those days, if Rumpelstiltskin said something like, buy it, I might grumble a little bit about spending money, but generally speaking, if Rumpel said jump, I would say how high. For you Once Upon a Time fans, the Rumpelstiltskin that I was dealing with in those days was quite a lot like the Rumpelstiltskin that's on Once Upon a Time, the TV show. Mm. Anyways, if you can work on inner silence, how do you do that? Primarily through meditation and marijuana. Adam Sandler had that funny um, Christmas song about being Jewish, and one of the lines was, "I'm going to have a gin and tonica and smoke marijuana." Always very funny. And one of my other spirit guides, I got so many spirit guide friends. The lady, just I've got two ladies. There's two ladies, and they both use that term, marijuana. But anyways, if you smoke marijuana and you meditate, it does help you develop inner silence. And then what? Well, then you might develop a habit of using marijuana. It's expensive and it is habit forming. And at some point, you're going to have to get rid of that habit. Just like if you're, a boozer, like Barney on The Simpsons, sooner or later, you're going to have to get rid of that habit. Why? Because it's dependency. And if you can break the habit of anything like that, any of these kind of, Don Juan Matus would call them plant allies. If you can break the habit of those things, then you can be yourself without them. And if you were like Socrates, who was the great mentor in, oh hell, I gotta go, hold on. Socrates was the mentor of Dan Millman in his book Way of the Peaceful Warrior, and that was made into a movie, and Socrates was played by Nick Nolte. Awesome. Nothing is better than watching Nick Nolte play Socrates. Strangely, I just came into possession of another book by Dan Millman. It's not that Peaceful Warrior. This one is about numerology. And in this book, it tells you how to do your numerology for you. And then it describes what your life path is all about, your spiritual mission, your life path is all about. And it's a big, thick book. So there's all kinds of information for all kinds of different people. And I don't know, I've given you all kinds of information again and again. But getting inner silence is very crucial. Because most of us, before we learn inner silence, get run around by our monkey mind. And if you get inner silence, then you don't have a monkey mind. Then you get spirit guides who've got monkey minds. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about? Was Don Juan Matus rich, a billionaire? Didn't appear to be. He and his friends had homes, and one of these people was a very minor actor, a stage actor, before he became a sorcerer. But they were very familiar with acting up. I think these folks, they lived to play. They had great, great senses of play and great senses of humor. I think they really enjoyed practical jokes that they would play on one another using their sorceries. They loved to have young apprentices who didn't know their ass from the hole in the ground so that they can do their sorceries to the apprentices. And, quite often the apprentices they had were just everyday people. And some of the apprentices to Don Juan Matus liked to drink beer and liquor. Don Juan Matus didn't, he smoked. He had what he called the little smoke, which he made from, I believe it was magic mushrooms. But he didn't drink booze, but the apprentices did. Primarily, the first book in the series talks about these psychedelic drugs, peyote, datura, and the magic mushrooms, the little smoke. But in the later books with Don Juan Matus, they weren't mentioned at all. So some people speculate that Carlos Castaneda was called upon the carpet by the publishers, or I don't know, but told no more of this psychedelic stuff that was becoming illegal in around the late 1960s or 1970s. So was it political pressure? Richard Nixon soon appeared on the scene in the early 1970s. Well, even before that, he'd been vice president under, I believe it was Eisenhower, and Nixon was the one who nixed the use of psychedelic substances. So was it something to do with that, or was it was it well, Don Juan Matus said that these plant medications, these plant allies, would help to move your assemblage point. Oh, assemblage point. What's an assemblage point? Uh, an assemblage point is a part of your, perhaps, well, it's a point basically right back here, and that's where it's normally at. But if you shift this assemblage point to another position other than, back here, then your world will change to your perceptions. How much will it change? Depends on how far it moves from its normal position. But these psychedelics will move your assemblage point, and that's how you have a psychedelic trip, and you see all the things and experience all the things you do because your assemblage point has moved. Is moving your assemblage point a good idea? I think if you have a master shaman like Don Juan Matus around who can help you if you get into hot water. In other words, you need a master to help you. So should the average Joe do magic mushrooms and datura, and peyote? I think people do. Is it wise? This is not a lecture about wisdom. I'm sorry, I know I gave lots of wisdom teaching. This is not a lecture about wisdom. So I'm not going to tell you whether it's wise or not to do these psychedelic substances, plant medications. I'm not going to tell you to follow Don Juan Matus or Socrates or why? Because I don't want to be responsible for what you do. Have your own personal sovereignty. Try not to be a jackass. Try not to put yourself in danger. And live a little. I'm Superior Beer.